the next line in the Kadampa text is to uphold, the best fortitude is to uphold humility. So I was thinking about that one because you would almost think that it should be the best fortitude is to have acceptance of whatever happens. You know, that it would be something along that line. But it says to uphold humility. And humility is the opposite of arrogance. So it made me think, well then what's the link between arrogance and anger? Yeah. I don't often think about that, but when I thought about that, there's definitely a link because we have arrogance when we don't have humility. Yeah, because humility is just okay with being who you are, and you don't have to prove yourself or uplift your status or anything. You're completely okay with who you are. Arrogance is coming from a feeling of insecurity, not knowing, not wanting to make a good impression on others, wanting to appear to be really good even though we don't believe in ourselves. Because if you believe in yourself, there's no reason to be arrogant. So arrogance comes when we don't believe in ourselves, when we don't have self-confidence, when we lack humility. Yeah, humility is when you have self-confidence. Okay, so then I was thinking, okay, if you don't have self-confidence and you lack humility, then we get arrogant. And then when other people don't see us as being as great as our arrogance is pretending to be, then we get angry. Yeah. And so the antidote to that arrogance is, of course, humility. And I was thinking about it in relationship when Jeffrey was talking this morning, and he was saying how we say, well, why me? Why does that happen to me? Yeah, it's unfair. So there's kind of an arrogance in that statement, isn't there? Somehow I should be above all these things that go on in samsara. They shouldn't happen to me. They should happen to other people. So there's a kind of arrogance in there. And so, of course, then when those things happen to us, like a tree falls on your BMW, then you get angry, or whatever happens that you don't like, you get angry because there was this underlying arrogance that kind of stuff shouldn't happen to me. I'm above that. I'm different than other people. So again, the opposite of that is a kind of humility, recognizing that we are simply ordinary sentient beings. So why shouldn't those things happen to us? We've created a lot of negative karma. Of course those things will happen to us. And, there's no cause to be arrogant thinking they won't. Yeah. And also, the other, going back to the other connection between arrogance and anger, when we can really accept things as they are, including accepting ourselves as what we are, then there's no anger, and then there's no arrogance, and then there's no anger when people don't treat us the way we think we deserve to be treated because we are so wonderful. And why are we putting up this thing of I'm so wonderful? Because we lack self-confidence. When you have self-confidence, then you can be humble. Okay, so there's a bunch of interesting connections here between all those different mental factors. So it's something to think about and look at in your own personal experience. Mm-hmm.
Needed to see who you really are.
Okay, so the fortitude to see who you really are, the fortitude to understand emptiness. Yeah, well, if you're holding yourself up full of arrogance and being the opposite of humble, then there's, of course, incredible self-grasping in that. Okay? And so to pierce that self-grasping, we need a lot of fortitude that is willing for our whole worldview to get shaken up. And so actually, to practice Dharma in any way, shape, or form, whether we're meditating on emptiness or compassion or whatever, we need a lot of fortitude, because Dharma is like a mirror and it shows us all of our faults. Yeah? And so you have to have a lot of fortitude to bear that, and to bear, not actually to bear seeing our faults, but to bear dismantling our faults. Yeah, because we see our faults, that's fine. But to actually overcome those bad habits by training the mind in another way of doing things, that requires a lot of inner strength, because we're so habituated to things, we don't want to change, and also because if we change, we aren't going to be who we were before. And that means we can't run our trips on other people the way we did before, because those trips won't be in us anymore. And it's so strange how sometimes we get a little bit afraid of letting go of our trips. Because who am I going to be if I don't defend myself against the rest of the world? And if I don't put up this great defense and protect myself, other people are going to run all over me. Yeah? So you need some inner strength to take that down and begin the process of changing so that you can actually be happier. Because it's strange how changing and having virtuous mental states, that is very threatening to self-grasping ignorance and self-centered thought. Yeah. So it takes a lot of inner strength and inner courage to overcome the resistance that self-grasping and self-centeredness put up to changing. Do you get what I mean? Yeah? It's like, but it's so weird, because if we were to let go of our trips, we'd be happier. But we're afraid to let go of our trips, because then we'll be vulnerable and we'll be miserable. But actually, you get the total opposite result from letting go of your trips, is you feel happier and more relaxed. Yeah? But being ignorant, we don't realize that, and so we defend our trips. Yeah? So to have the inner strength to overcome that resistance.
Can you speak about control in that context? Control could be a mechanism to protect ourselves. We might be aware of who we are, what afflictions we have, but still we don't want to be seen, and so we kind of manipulate or we control the environment.
Yeah, okay. So we have afflictions aplenty, but we're very concerned with our image. So we want to look like we're good practitioners. Or if not a good practitioner, at least a really nice person. Yeah? So we put on a front. That's, I think, what you mean by control. Yeah? We stuff all that other stuff, hide it neatly under here, behind here, and then put on this, this I'm a really together person thing. Yeah, or we put on the, I'm a really fierce person and don't come near me kind of thing. Also out of the feeling of vulnerability, wanting to control what others think of us. So again, we can get our way. So the whole thing makes us quite miserable, doesn't it?
And it's tiring.
is definitely tiring. Takes a whole lot of energy.
I've thought often about how how arrogance plays into control. You control the environment, controlling everything, but then I've never seen this before, to see that humility is actually a practice also of accepting cause and result.
Yeah.
If you look at it in terms of fortitude, it's really...
Yeah, humility means you're not fighting reality.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not fighting but you're not fighting reality. Things change. And you don't freak out saying, well, they shouldn't change. It shouldn't be like this. You know, people do things that you didn't expect them to do or didn't want them to do. And you don't freak out. Oh, they're not supposed to act like this.
Or I should be able to change it.
Yeah, or I should be able to change it. Or I should be able to control the environment so that they can't play their tricks on me. You know, because I want to play my tricks on them. Yeah, really quite exhausting. Yeah, but I think, you know, when you accept impermanence, then we can let a lot of that go. And when we accept that there's no inherently existent I there to start with, so there's nobody we need to defend. You know, there's really nobody who needs defending in here. Then, you know, again, we can relax so much.
I find it difficult to uphold, you know, those few. I mean, otherwise I would react differently.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's like what Shantideva says, if you can change something about that. Let's say I'm seeing something about myself, somebody is criticizing, in fact, that point, what I'm aware of, but I don't want to.
Yes. Oh, those ones. Yes.
The only thing I can think is to switch that is, yeah, if I can change something about that, then I can go forward, and if not, then okay, just accepting and
Yeah.
seeing it as myself.
Yeah, I mean, if we have an aspect of ourselves that we know we need to change, we have to work on it slowly. You know, so we put some effort and we work on it slowly, but we also have to accept where we're at right now. We're not going to get rid of this by tomorrow. Okay? So that's also what I mean by acceptance. We have to accept who we are, what we are right now, knowing that in the future we can change. Yeah? And that way, when people point out our faults, we don't have to defend it, denying we have those faults, because we've already accepted that we have them. Yeah? Why do we deny? Because we haven't accepted them. Yeah? And we haven't accepted that other people see them. We want to somehow pretend that other people don't see our problems and don't know our faults. And that's so ridiculous. Yeah, like that everybody's going around like this, you know. Actually, other people see our faults. They see our weaknesses. They see our problems. Who are we trying to make look good? Yeah? So I think when we talk about transparency, yeah, transparency is based on this kind of self-acceptance. Yeah, I know I have this problem, and I know that you and everybody else knows that I have this problem, because you've bumped into it a lot, because I acted out a lot. So that's the reality of the situation. Yeah, I don't need to crawl under the table and be ashamed, and I don't need to do the Wizard of Oz thing and put on a great big trip. You know? It's just, that's the way it is. Huh? And I'm sure many of you know my faults better than I do. In fact, you probably talk about them with each other a lot.
We're too self-centered. We got our own laundry list.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's just the reality, isn't it? You know, when we talk about fortitude, we think of inner strength. Yeah, so, and when we think of inner strength, we usually think of the strength to defend myself against all these people outside who might hurt me or threaten me or expose me for being a nincompoop or whatever it is, you know. So I've got to make this fortress, yeah, all around me so that people don't see. And we think, oh, that's strength. Yeah, but that's not the kind of strength that is the strength in fortitude. Yeah, the strength that fortitude is the opposite of that strength, because you don't need that kind of building wall strength. You need just the strength of acceptance of reality. So it's an inner strength. Yeah. So all this talk of walls, I mean, our country is like loaded with talk of walls, and people are talking about walls and boundaries and all that kind of stuff. And I think, you know, when people say, well, I have to build a boundary between myself and others, that language, I don't know, somehow doesn't appeal to me. I prefer the language of, I have to be really clear about my own reactions to people. Because I can't build a boundary, and even a mental boundary, and then force somebody else to not step behind it. Of course they're going to beyond it. Of course they're going to step beyond it. Yeah, but I have to have clarity not to bite the hook. Yeah, so to me that whole talk about boundaries, I don't feel so comfortable with. I see it more as an inner process of, if I'm clear, then people can say whatever they want, but I don't bite the hook. If I'm not clear, then I bite the hook. And then I blame them. But I'm the one who bit it.
Seems like there's something to do with capacity in that too, though. It
There's
seems like there's something to do with capacity.
capacity, yeah.
Knowing your own capacity.
Yeah,
And then choosing the situations you put yourself in based on that.
right. Knowing your own capacity, choosing the situations you put yourself in, and knowing that sometimes you're going to be in a situation you can't control, the external situation, but you can be clear in your own mind what you will do and what you will not get engaged in. Yeah?
And it's our karma, so that we met that.
Yeah, it's our karma. We can't control what our karma is. The time to control the karma is before it ripens. When it's ripening, we can't, it's, you know, it's there. Then we have to deal with the situation. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I think a lot about Shantideva's life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he had the karma to be criticized by his community twice, right? The first time he left and both times, but he just did his own thing.
Yeah.
It's not like he had to come out and defend himself or announce that he was writing a treatise or...
No. I mean, the thing was with Shantideva, of course he didn't, don't you know I'm Shantideva and I'm going to write this book that that His Holiness Dalai Lama is going to teach to millions of people, you know, I mean, he's not interested in that. But, you know, when he was teaching the 9th chapter, he did just arise into space and disappear. But that was just a natural function of what he was doing. He wasn't trying to impress anybody with it. Yeah.